All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. If we can have anybody who has updates that they want to share, go ahead and do that. I think there's one update on the agenda for y'all, and then whoever else has things they want to share, if you want to share about your program quickly or events or activities you have coming up, go ahead and do that now.
I can go first. Hello, everyone. So as you all know, I'm Caroline Rodriguez, and I'm with Tennessee Voices Statewide Family Support Network. I am a peer support specialist that helps families that are dealing with DCS or the juvenile court, or even with the schools if they need help with an IEP or a 504. We provide advocacy for the families, and what we do is that we empower the families to be able to have a voice and to be able to comply with anything that the court may be asking for or DCS may be asking for. We are accepting referrals right now. We do have some openings, so please, if you know any families, the only requirement to be able to be in our program is for you to either have a mental health diagnosis or a possibility of one. So that puts basically just anyone that may have a possibility of a mental health diagnosis. So please, we are definitely in need of referrals from Carter County and any of the counties in Northeast. So if you know of anyone that may benefit, it's a free program. So there's nothing that the families need to do. They don't have to have insurance or anything like that to qualify for our program. And thank you for the opportunity to tell you about what we do at Tennessee Voices.
Thank you, friend. Who else has got something they want to share?
I have something I'd like to share. Can you hear me? Okay. My name is Leslie. I'm with CHIPS Family Violence Shelter in Irwin. We usually, I am the health and wellness advocate as well as like the community educator. So I'm the one that goes around to other organizations and programs and kind of does like presentations on our services and the things that we offer domestic violence victims. We had cut down the presentations because of COVID. So we weren't doing them unless, you know, organizations reached out to us. But we have lifted that as of this month. So I am taking those who might want to have us come and speak to staff or anything like that about our organization. We do adult presentations on our services and domestic violence, but we also do presentations for kids like anti-bullying, cyberbullying, teen dating violence, and things like that. So I'm having a hard time at the moment getting a hold of our Carter County organizations. So that's why I wanted to kind of make the announcement on here. So if anyone, you know, is interested in maybe doing that, I listed my email and my name in the chat here, so you can just email me anytime.
Thank you. Can you share a little bit more about what kind of presentations y'all offer?
So we do just like usually our brief ones to like police departments and stuff like that. Pretty much just goes over our services, what we provide our clients that come into shelter and ways to set up relays and get them to a safe. But I've personally done presentations at high schools and stuff on not only domestic violence, but teen dating violence. We go to elementary schools to talk about anti-bullying, what cyberbullying is, stress coping skills, just things like that for anybody who might be exposed or involved in a domestic violence situation.
Thank you. All right, who wants to share next?
I can go.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
All right. My name is Aisha Ward. I'm with Tennessee Kids Belong, and I just have a few things to let you guys know that it affects Carter County. I am teaming up with a church that is in Kingsport, Tennessee. It's Waverly. Waverly Road Presbyterian Church, but we're doing a social work luncheon for in March, March the 22nd, just to appreciate the social workers. The focus is going to be for foster care. So if you don't know about Tennessee Kids Belong, we work in the foster care world. We're not a child placement agency, but we find community supports for all current foster, kinship, and adoptive parents to prevent burnout. And then we do video shoots for the children that are looking for forever homes. The person over at Waverly Road Presbyterian Church is actually Rachel Lawson. She's over the Smile Foster Closet that is located in Kingsport, but serves all of Northeast. So yeah, so if anybody, y'all could just email me if you want some more information about it. But the luncheon is going to be on the 22nd from 12 to 3, and we're just going to be we're going to have meals provided where people could just drop in and grab and go. We're going to have door prizes. We're trying to get a 15-minute massage for social workers. And yeah, it's just some other little goodies that we're working on. Another thing, if you do work with anybody in the foster care world, I don't know if you guys saw, I'm on the board for the Smile Foster Closet as well, and they just opened a new location in Johnson City. So that's great. If you don't know about Smile, they don't only work with foster parents, they also work with preventative cases as well. So as long as the family is being served by the Department of Children's Services, then they're able to get clothes and bedding from Smile. And I think that's all I have.
Thank you. Who wants to go next?
I'll just put in a little, I'm Terry Rogers, outreach worker for Volunteers of America. We help veterans and their families, low income, homeless or soon to be homeless. And the big news for those that don't know, we have just raised our eligibility income limit considerably. So there's a lot of people that are eligible now that weren't in the past. It's up to the HUD 80% mark, and we serve 8 counties, but for instance, in Washington County, a single veteran can make just a little over $3,000 a month and still be eligible for the program. Just wanted to get that out there because it's pretty big news for us for eligibility requirements. Thank you.
I'll go next if nobody else is in line. Hi, everybody. I'm Andy Hall, and I used to be with Groups Recover Together. So I've probably seen some of you on here in that capacity. And I've since left, and I'm now with Hickma Community Health. And I'm doing outreach with Cloxato, which is the 8 milligram naloxone nasal spray. So if anybody wants any information, education, literature, demo devices, anything like that, or has questions about it, feel free to reach out to me. I've got my information in the chat. So if you've just got questions or if there's anything that you need, just feel free to reach out. Thanks so much.
Hey, I have an announcement. I'm Emily with Elizabeth and City Schools, and I put it on the agenda late, but we have our back to school bash planned for this coming year. And we're going to do it a little bit differently this year. A lot of you on here have probably come or helped out before, but this year we're going to do it on a Monday evening. So it's Monday, July 31st from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And it's because it will be really hot. We won't do it out on the football field. We're going to do it inside. Due to COVID and issues last year, we weren't able to serve food, but we plan on serving dinner again this year. So we're hoping to get more of a turnout. But there'll be more to come on that. I'll announce as we get a flyer and everything, but we do already have our updated sponsor letter, and we do have our sign up for vendors for any booths that want to come set up for any of the kids at our back to school bash. So that link is in the agenda. And also something that's different, just to let you know, normally we give out backpacks and the backpacks have school supplies in them. This year, we're thinking of just giving out school supplies. That way we can get just better quality school supplies for everyone. If our students come and they don't have a backpack at school, we can always work with them on that and get them a backpack. But we're going to hand out school supplies and kind of have them set out throughout and encourage participation and visiting at all the booths. So I think it's going to be some exciting new changes, but I just wanted to go ahead and throw out that sponsor letter. We definitely need donations to try to get some of these kiddos their school supplies. And then also just the booth sign up if you are able to come and, advertise your services for our community. Please sign up or let me know if there's any questions about that. Yeah, and
Hey
I'll put
guys,
it in the chat, sorry.
hey, this is Samantha Loveday with Road Legacy Recovery. This is an announcement for United Way approached us to borrow one of our buildings downtown. So there's going to be a free toxic event on February the 7th with a actual tax company that's going to come in and give free services to all of our community clients. Anybody that needs their taxes done, please come down here. They are going to serve refreshments. They are going to have free childcare. And as always, you can bring them on to the Red Legacy side. We will help take care of your littles as well. So that is going to start. I think they're going to start at like 9 o'clock that morning, and it's going to go like until they're done. So they're planning to be here like all day, all night. And remember too that if you do have clients that are on SSI or any form of disability, to ensure some clients do have taxes, taken out of those. So they need to file income taxes. So if you have clients that, like I said, that are on disability or SSI, actually have to ensure that they, know that, and so that they can file their taxes. I shared the link in the meeting chat box, and yeah, I messed that up. So I deleted that. So I'm gonna send it to Jillian so Jillian can send it out, because I had no clue what I was doing. So I'll send the flyer out to you guys. If, one last thing, you have people that come to this, we're located on the main strip downtown on the left on Elk Avenue. There is not sufficient parking in the front always. So have them park in the back, or they can even park in our area, right directly behind our buildings.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything?
I just want to share real quick. My name is Brittany Peeler. I'm a peer support specialist at the new Johnson City Recovery Center. We have successfully survived our first full month. We've got a lot of new meetings started, AA, NA, Yoga for Recovery. We have a grief and loss support group, domestic violence support group, just a bunch of different meetings you can find on our website or on Facebook. But I did just want to shout out, we have our Sober Super Bowl Sunday coming up. That is Super Bowl Sunday, February 12th. We are going to have pizza sponsored by Creekside. There'll be drinks and refreshments. Tell everybody you know to come watch the Super Bowl in a safe and sober environment here at Johnson City Recovery Center.
Thanks, Brittany. All right, anybody else?
Yeah, hi, I'm Chandler Bevins. I'm a prevention specialist with Centerstone of Tennessee. We offer family life curriculum to Tennessee schools. We've been trying to get in contact with Carter County schools as well as Elizabethton City schools to try to partner with them to implement our family life curriculum in the schools there. We haven't had much luck yet getting in contact with people. So if you know anyone that's in the schools, if you could send their contact information to me, I'll drop my email in the link in the chat. So yeah, thank you.
Hey, Chandler, that would be me for Elizabethton City Schools. If you want to email me, I'll put it in the chat too.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll send you an email.
I'm gonna put Jenny Jones' contact information in the chat for you too for Carter County Schools. I don't think she's here today. But I'll stick her info in there for you. All right, anybody else before we move on?
Yeah, this is John Knack with Creekside. I just want to let people know that we do have space available in our adult and separately our adolescent PHP, which is partial hospitalization. It's the only day hospitalization program that I know of in Northeast Tennessee. So it's for people with chronic, ongoing anxiety, depression, thoughts of self-harm, homicidal ideation, suicidal ideation, but just maybe they don't have a plan, maybe it isn't emergent, but just ongoing issues that are not resolving. Maybe they've made a trip to an ER, maybe they haven't. It can be used as a step down, a prevent, or even a step up if someone's in our program and realizes there's more there than they originally thought. TennCare pays for it. Commercial insurance pays for it. We like to keep people for a week and a half to 3 weeks. So it's a day program. They go home at night, sleep in their own bed, eat dinner at their own dinner table, and just come back the next day. If anybody has any questions, my information's in the chat. Thanks.
Thanks, John. Anybody else before we move on? All right, y'all. So I am going to turn it over to Tabitha Edwards with Recovery Resources. Y'all probably know this is one of my favorite organizations doing amazing things in the community. So I will ask Tab to go ahead and share.
Hey, everybody. Thank you, Jillian. I am Tabitha Edwards. I'm the Executive Director of Recovery Resources. We run a men's recovery living program in Upper East Tennessee. So currently we are running 8 homes across Washington and Sullivan counties. We have a total of 87 men who are mostly previously incarcerated. All of them suffer from substance abuse in their history, and a portion of them also have co-occurring mental health disorders. We work really closely with anyone and everyone who will partner with us to provide those men with services so that they can recover and go out and live the life they were meant to live. Our houses operate like small homes and communities. We want the men to support and uplift each other. We're always trying to engage the community in any way possible. We utilize a lot of faith-based partners who come in and minister to the men in different ways. We work with a lot of you all, as you all know, to get various services for them. We are in the process of trying to increase our capacity in Washington County, and we're hopeful that we're going to be able to do that. The need continues to grow with each house that we open. So we currently have a waiting list, but with opening this new house in Kingsport, we are trying to eliminate some of the people on that wait list and get them into stable housing. We have a really cool event coming up. If you haven't heard, we are hosting our first ever polar plunge. It's going to be taking place at USA Raft Adventure Park. We have 47 plungers signed up to jump out into the freezing cold Nolichucky on February 18th. They have pledge pages set up that they are sharing across social media. I have the link for that. I'll be happy to share it if you want to join us for this, help raise money for our organization, or maybe support one of our plungers. If none of that sounds interesting to you, we would love to have you show up and be a part of this really cool event. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a little cold, but it's going to be a lot of fun. yeah, so that's what we have going on. We're always looking to increase our partnerships with anyone who might have something to offer the people in our program, or if there's some way that our program can support what you all have got going on, don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you.
Any questions for Tab? I'm gonna put the Facebook link for the Polar Plunge in the chat. Y'all come out and eat some soup and watch people freeze. It's gonna be super fun. Anything else for Tab before we move on? All right, so I will go ahead and ask Miss Ada Sloop to join us now. She is the Department of Health Healthy Development Coordinator, and we're excited to hear from you today. So go ahead and share.
Hey, thank you. So I have a quick presentation, but it's saying the host has disabled screen sharing. So if whoever the host is can give me that capacity.
See if it works
great.
now.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Great, thank you. We're gonna view this big. Okay, so I would love just a quick show of hands to make sure people are still there, and also just to get a little read of the room. How many people have heard of Built Environment before? If you'll just push the little reaction button on your Zoom, so I can see what we're working with. Got a couple thumbs up. Cool. Now that we've woken everyone up, we have a couple thumbs down, which I'm assuming means you've not heard of it before. And so we're going to quickly go over it. So yes, Built Environment. Today, I'm just going to talk about what it is. And then we're going to briefly talk about how we could apply that to Carter County. And then I'll talk about some state resources that we have through the Department of Health. So yeah, as she already mentioned, I work for the regional office here in Johnson City for the 7 counties of the region, and my specialty is Built Environment, which is the physical setting where people live, including their homes, buildings, streets, open spaces, and infrastructure. So that's kind of the grand scale definition of Built Environment. It's a newer realm of public health. And a lot of people, when they think of Built Environment, just because of the projects that have gone through in the past, they think a lot of the environmental components also, like parks and sidewalks and grocery stores, and basically these parts of your community that discourage or encourage you to be more active or access more healthy opportunities. So the goal overall is to make the environment conducive to making the healthy choice the easy choice. So it's a very broad part of public health, but it's also very fun. So I'm going to quickly talk about just a little bit of history about Built Environment. And this is kind of an intersection with planning. So if you think about Carter County specifically, when you look at the roads there, maybe you'll have nicer quality roads when you get closer to like Elizabethton. But then when you get kind of out towards the hollers, you'll run into a little less of that infrastructure. And historically, vehicle transportation in general has really been the priority when it comes to developing areas. Not so much people walking or people biking or folks that just are not running around in cars. So this is kind of a little bit of a stretch because I don't think Elizabethton or any of the towns in the county are coal towns. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But overall, aside from coal towns, you also have just the industrial emphasis in this region. And that's kind of a similar mindset with kind of using the area as more of an extraction and less of like long-term development for the communities. And you can see that with like insufficient infrastructure, and there's some environmental consequences, especially for coal areas. But then also you bring in the factor of, just looking outside, we have the beautiful mountains, which are a blessing, but they're also kind of a pain when it comes to developing these kind of spaces, And historically, a lot of government and entities that are giving the money for these infrastructures have underfunded these areas because it is harder and more expensive. And there's less people in this area in the rural spaces. So, and then over time, we've kind of gotten used to poorly engineered roads because that's just kind of been the reality of it. So that's a little bit of the history of built environment in this area. I'm going to real quick look over Carter County health stats. This may be old news to a lot of you, but I want to, before that, if you see the little map on the right, I would love to know if anyone knows what is highlighted in blue.
Nashville and Williamson County.
Okay, so you got some counties in there. What do we think that the overall region is health-wise, what they're highlighting?
Obesity.
Yes, exactly. Bonus points to you, Randy. That's the they call it the diabetes belt. So it's kind of the partner. A lot of folks, like, I cut out half the country because they don't have any blue on that side. It's all just this one specific area has a really big issue with obesity rates. So, or diabetes rates, which are hand in hand. But so looking at health stats, which this is from the County Health Rankings platform, out of all the 95 counties in Tennessee, Carter County is pretty much right in the middle, a little bit above the middle for overall health status. As far as like built environment things, we can look into poor physical health days. So if you ask people to self-report, which a lot of us know self-reporting has got its own issues in itself, but if you look at self-reporting for Carter County, the last 50 days, 5.4% of people will say that 5.4% of those days was unhealthy physical days. So, and then if you look at Tennessee, it's a little bit lower than that, and US is 3.9. So we're a little elevated in those poor physical health days. Not awful, but we would love to get more on track with the state and the country. And then you look at adult obesity. Like I said, this kind of goes hand in hand with diabetes. Carter County is running at about 34%. That's a little lower than Tennessee and a little above the national average. So it's important. It's not like super skyrocketed for the county specifically. And then you look at physical inactivity. So these are people that are reporting that they have no physical activity. And that's 34%, which is a good bit more than Tennessee and more so than the country. So if we could get people out being more active, it would result in less obesity, less heart disease, et cetera, which is the goal, to prevent people from having to go into clinical facilities. Okay, so another question, out of these topics from the survey, the CHA survey that y'all conducted or getting ready to conduct again, these are the categories from the last one. I'm wondering if anyone has any idea of which ones of these link to built environment directly. And you can just toss out which ones you think.
Transportation.
Yes, yeah.
Housing.
Housing, yep.
Is it all of them?
So yeah, this could be classic public health, right? Like they all kind of fall under it, but there's some that are more obvious than others. So I kind of highlighted some of them. It's hard to link discrimination, it's hard to link ACEs, but access to care, being able to get to places, transportation, chronic disease, as I mentioned before, those opportunities for activity can lead to a healthier living, housing, substance abuse, mental health, and food insecurity. So we're going to quickly go into Carter County's built environment specifically. So back in 2015, we at the Department of Health did an assessment of the built environment space in Carter County, and we did it in all the different counties, but this is kind of the brief synopsis of what we found then, which this is out of date a little bit, but it just gives you a little snapshot. But there was 13 healthy food sources and 16 food deserts in the county. Approximately 1/3 of the population has low access to grocery stores, which shouldn't surprise you if you think about if you're heading up towards Roan Mountain, the grocery stores there are few and far between. So access to sidewalks, bikeways, no public transportation. About 1% of residents were walking and less than 1% were biking to work. The safety of students walking or biking to school was acceptable. Disadvantaged populations, as all counties, are more likely at greater risk of health problems. Air quality was fairly good in Carter County. Rivers near the playgrounds were considered a potential safety issue. Low annual crashes, this is vehicle crashes or a pedestrian or bicyclist. And then public safety was considered generally acceptable. But I have a couple priority areas that came out of that report that I want to dive into with y'all. So those priorities areas, as you can see on the slide, were increased to, oh my goodness, I'm blocking myself. Increased healthy food stores and active transportation infrastructures. So real quick, I'm just going to give, so in the in-person presentations for this, we were able to kind of brainstorm, but it's a little bit harder here. So I'm just going to give you kind of these examples of things that have happened in other communities. And then we'll kind of talk about how we see this happening within Carter County and if it would happen, because every county is different, every region is different. So this is an example of something called prescription food boxes. Has anyone heard of prescription food boxes before? If you could give a thumbs up. Yep. Okay. So prescription food boxes are basically a marriage of the clinical health system and oftentimes a nonprofit linking fresh foods to people who are prescribed that they need to eat healthier foods. So basically a doctor will say, like, someone will come in and they'll say, oh, you're having issues with this, like maybe we can give you the medicine, but also we can maybe sign you up for this system that's these prescription food boxes. And that can come through like a coupon or a voucher. They could have like a linkage to the farmer's market or the retail grocery stores. And then they can maybe get also linked to the food bank, depending on, what resources are available. So this is kind of a way to make it a little bit easier to link these clinical health things with actual lifestyle and eating healthier, things like that. So I want to ask, and I think I'd want like maybe 1 or 2 answers from folks for each of these questions. Does this remind you of anything currently happening in Carter County? Okay, so someone says Lexi Close with Appalachian Resource Conservation Council. Yes, it's very similar to what they do. And I would say if the money was there, they would be really good resource for doing that. Because they do have some things through local farmers markets where they have like Appalachian Pharmacy Fit, I think is what they call it. And they're walking like a 1 mile radius, and then they come back and they get vouchers for discounted foods or like $5 to spend at the farmers markets. That is not happening yet in Carter County. So that would be something that is in the works. I know that the Elizabethton Farmers Market is applying for SNAP benefits right now, and that will open up a lot of their options with that. But yeah, thanks, Tony. That's a good opportunity there. Okay, what elements of this model do you think would work here, or what could be challenging?
So I'll maybe pick on health department folks a little bit to contribute to this as well. But I know something that we have kind of struggled with as I've worked with mamas throughout the years is even getting them to want the vegetables. And then because it's just so different from what they're used to eating. And then even if they access the vegetables, they don't know what to do with them. So I think it's a real system overhaul in a lot of ways, because even if we do have access to them, they're very unfamiliar for a lot of folks. And again, like I'll pick on health department folks to give actual data here, but I think the WIC vouchers for fresh fruit and vegetables are highly underutilized. And I think that's something that ties into this perfectly. Again, that families just really, it's foreign for them. It's not something they're comfortable with. And so it's a real barrier to get folks comfortable with this and buying in.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Jillian, this is Caroline with the Health Department. We do have the demonstrations that we do through WIC, where we actually use those foods that can be purchased with WIC and let families see how they can be utilized, how they can be prepared, even have the kids in there, doing some taste testing, and that sometimes is helpful. And certainly it's helpful when we give out the recipes after they've tasted things and watched it being prepared, that sort of helps them use those foods. And for a moment, we tried to, get a farmer's market more locally in the middle of town, back when we had Grow Carter County, and that lasted for a while. It was very difficult though to maintain. It did not maintain, and so that was kind of difficult. But those would be a couple of contributions that I would mention. And then we also did some. We had partnered together to do some raised box gardens, and the produce that came out of the raised box gardens. We did some demonstrations, and that was with a bunch of different partners, Carter County Drug Prevention Library, that sort of thing. So yeah, those were things that we did for a sort of a targeted period of time. They just weren't able to sustain amongst the partners that were really working hard to try to get those done.
And if I could jump in, this is Shauna, the health educator at the Carter County Health Department. I know that we tried to address some of this stuff, and I came in mid-COVID, so I was kind of learning about Grow Carter County, and it was an amazing project and it sounded really great. But I was able to partner with Ashley in the library this past summer, and we got a couple of those raised beds going to kind of get the kids vested. And we did a pizza garden, and they supplied all the seeds and all the tools and all the soil for us. And we had a little class every week, and to get them, to actually buy into it, the kids to have a vested interest. Each week we had a nutrition lesson, and then we kind of went out and we took care of our pizza garden. It was our garden. So we watered it, learned a little bit more, found some cool bugs, stuff like that. So, and even though that was my first year doing it, it was pretty successful, and the kids seemed to really, really like it.
This is Tony. Can y'all hear me?
Yep.
I like this discussion a lot because I was going to add alignment, meaning that I think this fits into so many different groups. Just like when you're talking about the social determinants of health and all those different buckets for the built environment, we're really talking about how this percolates into the systems that we deal with. We're not working in silos like we used to. And so I think one of the great opportunities, and from past experience, is get them while they're young, because this idea of food systems and healthy eating. I've got some of these books at home, and I'm sitting there going, why don't I practice this more often? At my age, if I would eat healthier, I might get off of a couple of medications and the like. But we could all benefit from some of this, because it percolates, like I say, through just about everything we do. I was just on the ETSU campus at Starbucks, and then meeting with Trish Aniol with the Community Health Center. And it was like, she's a paralegal and she deals with food insecurity. And I'm going, oh my gosh, this involves all the people who come in to that community health clinic. And that involves upstream government, downstream, actionable agents like the faith community and like, business and the like. So I think it's alignment with everybody on what you were talking about here. And thanks for bringing up the built environment. That's important.
Yeah, Tony, I think you hit the nail on the head. And I think that's a major part of me being here today, is because I know that y'all are from a bunch of different sectors within Carter County. And that's the goal, right? Like Ag Extension's doing a canning class, and then maybe, someone from the health department can say, well, that would be good if we, bring people over from that library garden and teach the kids how to preserve food long term, or so these little linkages. I mean, you hit it right on the head. That's the systems change you need. So yeah, cool. Thanks everyone. I'm gonna go to the next one. So here's another, maybe I am. Here's another kind of different built environment, but.
Can
one
I
of-
add one, can I add one more thing to the previous discussion?
Sure, yeah.
It seemed, I put it in the chat, it seems to be dependent on population density. And to succeed in a rural community, you have to meet the people where they are, where the population, where they congregate at a large population density, which is usually their churches or their schools. So to implement prescription food boxes, whatever, you need to find the people where they are, because they're not going to come an hour to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, I do want to make a shameless plug. There is a farmer's market in Elizabethton, and it is phenomenal, like probably the best in the region. Don't quote me on that, but it's awesome. So if you don't know about it, I recommend getting to know it. So yeah, but anyway, all right, switch over. But the let's talk about the other priority that was active transportation. You know, you talked about rural areas. This is always an issue in rural areas, is getting people to the services that they need. The infrastructure is just really behind. But here's a little something that I've seen in some communities. And this looks more into like health equity and getting more spaces for people within city limits to be able to get places safely. So this is something called a road diet. And basically it's taking these big 4-lane highways and turning them into something a little bit more bike and walk friendly. So if you look down here, you see the before road diet. We all know we commonly see that kind of layout with roads. And then the road diet is something where they're, instead of the idea of like bigger roads, people are moving faster, they're actually shrinking the road size. And people, cars are moving slower, but people and bikes are able to also move on that space. So it's a very different way to think about it, but that's, you know, that's one way to look at active transportation for people of all accessibilities to be able to get places safely. And maybe in rural areas, this looks more like greenways and trails and walkways through areas so that people can not necessarily be right on the road, but are able to get into town or get to where the connectivity is there. So. Okay, so I mentioned this is kind of more of a urban thing. So, but does this remind you of anything in Carter County?
I'll have to say not in the county. It may remind me of things in Elizabethton.
Mm-hmm.
I will say it definitely applies to Carter County because nerds like myself with the College of Medicine and with certain skills like GIS, we can take something like the Tweetsie Trail and we can show what the mortality benefits, life expectancy things would be if everybody got 150 minutes of exercise doing active transportation. And so when we have the bones of something which is sort of doable, then I think we just need to promote with evidence how this can work and why aren't we doing it? And we actually did some of that in trying to get with Grow Carter County, some of these things implemented. And this was a statewide program under Governor Haslam. And I'm so sorry that it went by the wayside because it's exactly the kind of thing that we were talking about, is get your message to people about how we don't need to be an auto-centric society. You know, it's just a dog that won't hunt when you talk about all the negative externalities. And when you talk about obesity, you talk about social, you know, stormwater, you talk about public, you know, social capital, and the list of noise, all these different things, they all relate back to our transportation system being, you know, the carts, you know, it's the driving force. And we need to rethink this. And we've got good evidence on why it works. Be happy to talk to anybody about it.
Yeah. So one thing that I've noticed in Carter County and this is near Elizabethton, so this is more of the urban area, but they're trying to link the Tweetsie Trail onto I think it's called the there's another trail that runs parallel to the river, and I'd have
It's
to.
the linear path.
I knew you'd know that. Yes, the linear path. They're trying to link the Tweetsie Trail to that. And it's just a little strip of road. It's really not that long of an area, but it's, you know, that would open up a lot of that trail system for safe moving. So that's one. And then I also know that y'all have a downtown program in Elizabethton that has been working on opening some of the walkways between the buildings in downtown so that it's a little more people friendly. They have art in there and places for people to sit, things like that. So tapping into those kind of things that are already being done and helping support them as much as you can is great. So yeah. All right. So that's all I'm going to share with you today, but to give you a little taste of built environment. But if you do know organizations that are interested in doing this, or if you're interested in doing this, you have an idea for your community, there is a grant that's opening up any day now. And I'm more than happy to send it your way. So if you will take my contact, it's down at the bottom and I can put it in the chat too. There's a grant and it'll be on Tyler's newsletter as well. It's an $80,000 grant with no match. And it's 2 years. You have a $5,000 for evaluation just to show how many people are coming in and what kind of impact it's having on the area. So that will be opening up any day now. And that space specifically has to be free and accessible to people to be able to come and go. If you have any more questions about that, I'll be happy to answer them. But I cannot help with writing grants for that. But any other grants that you find or that you're interested in and you would love a second opinion, you'd love someone to help you draft anything, please let me know. I'll be really happy to help out with that and just give it another eye and give you whatever expertise I have. But then you see this QR code here. That code will scan to our website, and we have a built environment newsletter. If you're not newslettered out, that comes out, I think once a month or every 2 weeks. Not positive, but that has a lot of opportunities, trainings and grants and just education in general about built environment. So I'm very biased, but I think it's a great newsletter. So yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm here in Johnson City and I'm more than happy to come drive to Carter County any day and just talk about what kind of dreams you have. So yeah. That's all I have.
Thank you so much for sharing with us. I'm really grateful to hear all of the things you shared today. Does anybody have any questions before we move on?
Yes, Leslie Meehan is the same program as us. And as far as electrification, are you talking about getting more electricity to more rural areas?
Who's that directed to?
Norma,
Oh.
if not, Norma,
Hi,
feel free to
Ada.
email me. Okay.
Yes, Ada. I was going to say, electrification is something that that we're all interested in, and it's a wide array of ideas, including green energy sources, replacement of inefficient, devices in the home that can be more efficient. Making the homes more energy efficient with with putting in insulation, replacing windows, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely falls under built environment. I wouldn't say I'm super knowledgeable in that area, but I'd be more than happy to be to talk about it and figuring out if there's any kind of resources out there for it. I have a background in air quality, so I did a lot of indoor air quality with that. So we could chat about that if you feel free to reach out to me.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So I just brought up Bright Ridge because when you really think about energy, electricity and other sources with what we're dealing with. They go all the way up to the climate, but then they go down to the personal choices like energy slaves in our houses that save our having to expend a calorie to do manual work in the house, and all the way up to our transport, solar electricity, like that's what I do with Bright Ridge, part of a thing. Even though I don't have it on my house, I'm part of a network where if you contribute in with the solar energy, you actually get a tax write-off at the end of the year because you're lighting up 600 homes or something like that. And so Bright Ridge has been a great part. And I think that we should think about how we work with that sector. I mean, that's basically from the Tennessee Valley Authority that basically goes back to Roosevelt and the New Deal. And then now you talk about Appalachia with, the Great Society, part of Johnson's programs. These are all interwoven in trying to move our area ahead from where we were before. And I'm so glad to hear you're an air quality person, because, we have a saying, if you can't breathe, nothing else matters with the Lung Association. So.
Thank you all so much. This has been a great conversation and definitely useful information. Anything else before we move into our breakout rooms? Okay, so if y'all will remember, last month we started doing breakout rooms just a tiny bit differently. Instead of going into our breakout rooms and then coming back together at the end to share what's going on, we started asking our group leaders to share just a few minutes about what's going on first. And then we get into our breakout rooms. And then when your breakout room is finished, you can just leave the meeting and not have to worry about coming back in. So I'm going to ask all of our committee leaders to do that now. We can start with Committee A. If Tia, you want to share what's going on in your committee and anything you need from the full collaborative.
Yeah, so today in the Committee A, we're going to start discussing an event to be able to do community Narcan training for Carter County, which I'm super excited with. We're going to partner with the Elizabethan Library, and we're going to have Kayla Cobb from Sullivan County Anti-Drug Coalition come down and do the training. So we're going to kind of talk about some details with that today. And so if you are interested in being a part of that, come to Committee A. Thanks.
Thank you, Tia. Committee B is actually not going to meet again today. Brittany wasn't able to be here, so they will convene again next month. So Committee C, Emily, do you want to share what y'all are working on?
Yeah, we are just finalizing our strategic plan for this new year, talking about how we're going to incorporate the community health assessment coming up. And we're going to kind of update on an executive committee meeting that we had recently, and maybe take on another thing as a committee while we're looking at membership and partnerships and the way our Carter County Collaborative works. So so that's what we're going to work on today.
All right, thank you, Emily. All right, I'm going to go ahead and open the breakout rooms, and y'all are welcome to join as you wish, and we will see you next month.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
My kid would like to say goodbye to everyone. There you go.